You there?
Tom Morello is here.
Hey, what's up, man? How are you?
I'm good. What's going on?
I have to tell you, this is a tremendous honor. This is a conversation I've wanted to have since I was about 13 years old. So thank you very much for making the time.
Well, live the dream. Here we are.
It's already awesome. So if you had to pick one moment, if you had to pick maybe a record or maybe a performance or something you saw on TV or a song that made you go, oh, this is it. Music is it. I must do music with my life. What would that have been?
Well, there's a number of them, but there was a real revelatory moment when I was a big fan of hard rock, bands like Led Zeppelin and Kiss and Sabbath and AC/DC. But I always found that music, like, they were people that seemed like they were so much different than me. They had castles on Scottish lakes, and they had $10,000 Gibson guitars and limousines filled with groupies, and I just had a basement in Illinois. That's really all I had. So it was when I got the Sex Pistols record that all that changed, and I thought, these people, I literally joined a band. I formed a band within 24 hours of listening to the Sex Pistols.
No kidding.
And I didn't know how to play a single chord on the guitar, but I went into the Libertyville Public High School Drama Club and said, a punk rock band is forming. If you're in it, raise your hand now.
That's how you form your first band?
That was the beginning of my music career.
You formed your first band with a show of hands?
It was a show of hands. That's correct. That's correct.
That's absolutely amazing. So,
and you know which one of those hands was? I don't know if you're familiar with the history. It was Adam Jones from Tool.
I do, and the band, if I'm not much mistaken, was Electric Sheep.
The Electric Sheep, yeah. He actually wasn't in the first incarnation, but he was shortly thereafter. But anyway, yeah. So.
Yeah, no, I do know that, and many stories about you and everything that you've done. I got to tell you, today when I'm pressed, I would still have to say the best show that I've ever seen. I grew up in London. And my friend Greg called me up and said, there's this band. I saw him open up for Suicidal Tendencies. We're going. You have to go. And I'd never heard a note of the music, but University of London Student Union in London.
I remember it. ULU. I remember it.
ULU. And all right. And you opened up. I'm not sure, but I think you might have opened up with something that wasn't on the record. And
that's possible.
And I remember hearing the first note of your guitar, and I've never had a more visceral response to anything in my life. I lost my ever-loving mind.
Well, I remember that, too. I've like kind of Rain Man-like total gig recall, and I remember the ULU show. I remember that. I don't remember what we opened up with. I normally can get that, but I don't remember.
I will remember by the time this interview's done, and we'll agree upon it together.
Cool.
And then there was another moment not long after that where I saw you guys play the Anti-Nazi League rally at Brixton Academy in London. Yes. And I'll never forget that I'm standing out on the street afterwards, and I'm a kid. It's not like there's pressures in the world to do much with my life at the moment. I'm still in school. And I just remember almost in tears on the corner going, I have to do something more with my life, and I have to do it now. And it was because of you and your music. You have to hear stories like that a lot.
I do hear stories like that a lot, and it is very encouraging. And that's the lesson in that is not that, you saw a great band and they changed your life. The lesson in that is when you put your convictions into your vocation, whatever it is, whether you're a disc jockey or whether you're a journalist or whether you're a carpenter or whatever, that the example of you doing that resonates and other people see it, and then it affects them and it inspires them. So that is of the lesson of that. And it goes beyond seeing a band that, impressed you. It's like we meant every note of it, and we just said, this is what we care about, this is what we're feeling, and that the honestness of that resonates, and other people feel it. Because in the arts and in that's not why people do things for the most part. They do things that, they schmooze, or you try to make money, or you have an angle, but if you do something that's really 100% pure and from the heart, and you care about it, and it's your honestly held convictions, and you apply it to what you do in your life, other people will witness that, and it matters.
It really does matter. And I was thinking about this, getting ready for this interview today, how much of an effect you had on my life with your music and your convictions, and how you spurred me into taking action in my life, and how you hear, I'm sure, like you said, thousands of stories like this about how you've affected other people's lives similarly. And look, there's obviously still work to be done, but do you look back and go, that feels good? We wanted to inspire people. We wanted to spur them into action. Mission accomplished.
Well, yeah. I mean, I think there's the struggle for social justice. Began long before Rage Against the Machine.
Yeah.
It will continue long after the Trump administration. So we're just, as a musician, myself, and the different bands that I've been in, from Prophets of Rage, Night Watchman, Audioslave, Street Sweeper, Rage Against the Machine. We're links in the chain of people trying to make the place better than we found it.
I love that expression, try and leave the world a little bit better than how you found it. And honestly, I know I'm just goofing off on the radio, but with music and some laughs and conversations like this one, in my own little way, I'm trying to leave the world a better place than I find it every single day. And you've inspired that. With Prophets of Rage, saw the show when you rolled through San Diego last time, and was amazing. Probably the most fun I'd had in about 5 years, where I'm like, this is awesome. This is such a good time. These are incredible next-level musicians. But I remember, I think I talked to Tim right before that show, and I was like, playing with Brad Wilk. You guys are one of the single greatest rhythm sections in the history of great rhythm sections. Does it feel kind of like coming home to you, playing these songs with these musicians again? And he was like, yeah, it does. Do you feel like you've come home with Prophets of Rage?
I mean, there's a way that Tim and Brad and I have played together since the first time we were in a San Fernando Valley rehearsal room, that it's just a matter of chemistry. And it's just like the way that we play makes the room rock like that. From our first show ever in a Huntington Beach living room, to the last Prophets of Rage show at some big festival in Europe, the way that we play is just, and it's such a blessing to have been able to meet those dudes and to be in 25 years later, to be able to play music that we believe in, music that is compelling. We honor our catalogs of Rage Against the Machine and the ragification of Public Enemy and Cypress Hill, but to have a band like Prophets of Rage, which is a band of 2017, which has found its own footing, has found its own chemistry, and is here both musically, to bring the message to the mosh pit, this year and in the coming years.
Well, I absolutely heard that. The moment I put on Living on the 110, I was like, they found their own thing. Like, that you can definitely hear, what you're cooking with, but this is now its own thing. And it seems like it was a very natural thing to come by. Did you have to work hard for that, or did it just sort of, again, look, you caught lightning in the bottle once with Rage Against the Machine, and I feel like you've done it again with Prophets of Rage.
Yep. Well, we had such a great time on the Make America Rage Again tour, and we didn't honestly have plans beyond that. We weren't like, well, it's just a tour and we're going to be done, but we didn't think beyond it because it was such a time of kind of political chaos that we just had to have our voice out there in the marketplace of ideas. And then, we came back and we were like, well, we really kind of love being a band. Let's see if we can write a song together, which we weren't sure if we could. And we, got in the studio and we wrote 10 songs in about 2 weeks. And that was a really fast start, and it was so much fun. It was certainly the most fertile, creative, fun period of songwriting since we wrote the first Rage record.
It wasn't your first show, because apparently your first show was in Huntington Beach, California, in someone's living room. But I saw a very early college show, Rage Against the Machine.
Cal State Northridge.
Somebody uploaded that thing to YouTube, and I was like, it's incredible. It sounds just like the record. I was like, this is a band, and it's what you feel when you see Prophets of Rage. It's what I felt when I saw Rage Against the Machine. Such a sense of purpose and such an intense knowledge of who you are and what you're about. I was like, really, nothing changed between this show and making the record.
It's true. That band came out the box pretty hot, gotta tell you. I remember that show. That was actually the first public performance, was at Cal State Northridge. It was like a noontime concert. And if you watch the video, you can see there's these, like, people are just walking back and forth with their lunch trays, like, because this band is losing their effing minds on the stage. But during the course of it, there's a couple of like Hesher metal dudes who have their, you can see the back of their heads.
The ponytail guy bobbing his head. I've watched it so many times. I know what you're talking about.
They're very skeptical at first, because first of all, there's kind of a multi-ethnic flavor of the band, and the guy's kind of rapping and only half the guys don't have long hair, and but then if you watch the video, you see like at the end of Bullet in the Head, one guy looks at the other guy, and they sort of kind of then agree that it's going to be okay to headbang.
Right. Yes. No, I know those two guys, and at first they're kind of annoyed you're disturbing their conversation, and by the end, they're totally into it. It's incredible how little musically changed between that and utter world domination by your band.
That's correct. Yeah. They became true believers. You get to see the whole cycle there from doubters to believers.
Okay, so I feel like we're friends now, so I can ask you a bit of a personal question. Are you okay with it? May I proceed?
This is your special time. You can use it however you want.
And I got to tell you, it's more special than I ever thought it would be. Is there truth? And I promised myself I would only believe this once I heard it from your mouth. Is it true, Tom Morello, that pre-Rage Against the Machine, you were an exotic dancer?
I'll answer it by saying the rent is not going to pay itself.
And is there truth, Tom Morello, to the notion that during this time you went by the name Tom Meat Swinger Morello?
That is inaccurate.
That is
inaccurate.
Well,
I mean, there were a number of bachelorette parties which were thrilled to the song Brick House like they've never been thrilled before. But the Meat Swinger moniker was not. But that was an internet creation.
Okay, so I'm not dredging this up for the sake of something salacious. It kind of blew my mind a little bit because I was just like, here's a guy who is armed with a Harvard education, brain the size of a planet.
I couldn't get hired to sell Iron Maiden T-shirts on Hollywood Boulevard with my Harvard degree. Honestly, they turn. I'm like, at least I can sell a Maiden T-shirt. Like, no, thank you. You have no retail experience.
Right, and
so I turned to stripping.
You've got brains and creativity to spare, clearly. But it made me think now in 2017 with, a voice like Prophets of Rage speaking about any number of important issues. I love that you tackled homelessness because especially in California, it's right there in your face all the time.
That's correct.
Now that you are an adult and you have your degree from an Ivy League college and you're raising children of your own, I know your mom was a teacher, an educator as well. Knowing what you know about exotic dancing with a Harvard degree, what do you feel about education in 2017 and beyond? Because not to sound cliched, but I do believe the children are the future.
Yeah. Well, education certainly is in peril. I mean, in LA Unified, there are a lot of excellent teachers doing their best with very limited resources. And that's the end of it that we can tackle is, like one of the things that is, I grew up in a small town in Illinois, public school in Illinois, but it had tremendous resources, just because, I don't know, they cared. Mm-hmm. My high school had 2 theaters in it, and it's not a rich suburb, it's just like this kind of average suburb. But then, living here in Los Angeles, and you see the kind of the devastated school districts, and it's really, and that's not unique to L.A. And I think that is one of the things that is not helpful in our national discourse is the sort of the general America's place, the United States of America's place in the rankings of, educated youth continues to drop. And when it comes time to make decisions on things about, global warming and who's going to be president and how to direct our energies as a country, if people are not educated, you don't always make the best choices for our future and for our kids. I've resigned myself to the fact that where I am most effective is in the arts. And like I'm a musician, and that the culture has a role to play in changing the world and in affecting future generations. But I would say to you and your listeners that the one thing you can do is you stand up for what you believe in, rise up against injustice, join a band, join a union, join your high school newspaper and write a letter that's critical of the administration. Like, now is not the time to be silent, and that each and every one of us is a historical agent. History isn't something that happens. History is something that you make, or you stand on the sidelines and you let somebody else make it who's less qualified.
Well, Tom Morello, Prophets of Rage is a band that we need right now. You bring people together through the medium of kick-ass rock music. You spur people into action, and you start a dialogue. And I couldn't think of a better time for you guys to be doing what you're doing. I want to say thank you for doing that, and thank you for making the time for us today.
Well, it is my pleasure. We look forward to seeing you soon, hopefully down there, and rocking you senseless.
And, I mean, I was going to ask, we don't know about tour dates, or you're not allowed to tell us about tour dates just yet.
Correct.
Right? That's correct.
There are some, whatever's up now is up at prophetofrage.com.
Right. Well, I got the exotic dancer story out of you, so I'm not going to press on the tour dates.
Yeah, sure, it's the thing. Well, we will be meat swinging your way sometime in the future, I'm sure.
Tom Morello, this has been so much greater than I ever imagined it could have been, and I imagined it to be great. You rule. Thank you so much.
Thanks very much. Take care. We'll see you soon.
Bye, dude.
Bye-bye. Hello.
Oh, no, that's still me.
Oh, okay. All right, I'm going to hang up. Maybe
you hang up. Go ahead.